Hi, in this video I would like to show you how to trim the small minis that I did in the previous video. Trimming is a little bit different than trimming a regular big form because I'm not going to use my give and grip. I am going to be using a piece of clay to make a chum or a chuck. Now, one of the first things that I want to do is I want to go through and I want to remove the extra clay that was left on the bottom. In some cases it'll peel off nicely. This one it's not coming off too easily, but that little extra piece of clay that's a bat, here we go on this one. This is where I had made an original cut, and the extra clay bat was really just there to help protect the bottom of the pot, so when I lifted it with the knife I wouldn't disfigure that. So these pieces have been sitting covered, but they are leather hard and ready for trimming. So now I have the little clay bat off. This one's ready to go. I'll just do that on a few of the others. Alrighty, I have all the little clay bats removed. Now let's go ahead and I'll show you the trimming process. Now this particular one is a vase, so because it is a vase I usually don't flip and trim a bottom. I usually just leave it the way that I throw it on the day that I make it. I deliberately make it a little bit smaller. What I'm going to do is just gently take a rib, clean up the bottom edge, and very lightly kind of go over and sponge that. And this little guy's all cleaned up now. Pretty low effort on his part. Okay, let's move to a bowl. Now, for a bowl, I need to hold it upside down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a hunk of clay and I'm going to go ahead and center that into a chum. And if you've not thrown on a chum before, it's just a domed centered piece of clay. Once I have the clay centered and domed, I rib all slip from it. You don't want any slip on the chum, because if you do have slip, your pot could get stuck. I'm just going to get that off there too. Now before I place the pot on there, I do like to make reference marks. It just helps me when I go to center it. Now I have a couple different bowls. I'm going to start off with this one, and I'll just make one more mark. Okay. All right. So I just try to get that looking centered on there, and then I'll spin and see if it looks like it's in the middle. That looks pretty good. And then just kind of gently tap it down. Now, just like if I were throwing a large bowl, I want to think about the foot being where the big angle change happens on the inside. So I'm going to make the outside of the foot about there. And for this, I'm going to use little baby ribbon tools. These are Kemper ribbon tools, I believe. I really enjoy using just the smaller version of a trim tool for trimming minis. I use these ribbon tools for a ton of stuff. If you don't have a set, I highly recommend them. Okay, once I have the profile the way I want it, I'm going to take a small rib, press my grog down. If I wanted to get that throwing line back in there that I had, I'm just going to take my nail kind of put that throwing line back in there. Now, the inside of the foot of course is going to be proportionally narrow. I don't want a foot that's too big for my tiny pot. And lastly, just going to take a sponge and kind of smooth that out. I wouldn't normally smooth my feet with a sponge, but this is so baby, I thought I would do it. Okay. Now, got to make sure that I don't have slip on my hands. And there we go. There's my little trimmed foot. It should look proportional to the overall thickness. We don't want it to look, you know, clunky. Okay, I'm going to move on to another one. Okay. Here's another. To do the plate, I'm going to change my chum because the plate was a little too flat for the dome. So what I'm going to do, okay, so the foot on the plate is going to be wide just like a foot on a real plate. And there's my plate. Okay. All right. Next, I have to change the chum entirely, and I'm going to make a chuck. So I'm just going to recenter this and make a chuck out of it. Here's my teapot body. There we go. Here's my teapot lid. I had to trim that to get that to fit. I'll come back to the spout in a little bit. All right, and there's my little trimmed domed lid with the knob. Okay. The little mug, I'm just going to put a slight bevel on. I'm not even going to trim the foot. This is actually a smaller version like my big mug that I'm drinking out of. And let's see, I think I have one more, and that's the pitcher. And again, the pitcher, I'm just going to get the bevel on. Alright, so I know I need a handle on the teapot, a handle on the pitcher, and a handle on the mug. So I'm going to start off with a coil. Let's see. I'm going to make it the same way that I would make a big handle, just a tiny little version of it. I make a coil, I smack it down. Okay, now for attachment, I'm going to use this little wooden tool dipped in a little bit of water. And I'm going to blend. And there's a little mug. Okay, next let's do the pitcher. Go, pitcher. And then lastly, let's take a look at our teapot. Okay, if you remember when I made this, I kind of bent the spout a little bit so it would be a little bit asymmetrical, which is kind of nice when you're attaching a spout, to have it kind of angle up. Okay, now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be cutting this. This is too big right now, so I'm going to keep trimming. Okay, that's looking a little better. All right, so what I'm going to do is mark this with a needle tool. I'm going to score. I'll remove my lid for this part. Okay, now I'm going to cut a hole in the middle of the spout. I'm going to go ahead and attach this on. If I can fit my finger in there, it's kind of nice to add a little support. I can just barely get my finger in there. Okay, and little water on my paintbrush. And I'll kind of clean that up and seal that. And then I'm going to get the handle on for the teapot. So I'm going to do an overhead handle. Maybe I can always take and add a small little coil right around there to help blend. And here we go. There's the little teapot. Let me just pull up this bat up here so you can see all of them. All right, so I have the little vase that I just cleaned up, the pitcher that I just cleaned up. Oh, let's do this. Got the little flower bowl, the little regular bowl, the little cup with the handle, the plate, the lidded pot, and lastly, but not least, probably my favorite, the little teapot. And I just want to allow these to dry nice and slowly so things, you know, don't crack like the handles and everything. So I'll just cover them up. I hope you enjoyed that and learned a little bit about trimming minis.